I Hate the News is the weekly news bulletin from I Hate Politics podcast, a show about a human activity we love to hate. I am Sunil Dasgupta. It's August 26th, 2025. President Trump threatened to send troops to Baltimore in a spat with Maryland Governor Wes Moore. But it hasn't happened yet. So, we will do what we do, normal local news. Are you ready for first day of school? We have both MCPS Chief Communications Officer and Chief Technology Officer to talk about outreach platforms for the year. MCPS has announced program change proposals last week, and Einstein High School parent Rebecca Kushmider is looking very closely at the gift horse in the mouth. The Maryland Public Service Commission announced a hearing looking at how the state's gas utilities should align their investments with the state's climate goals. Chair Fred Hoover explains. And more. Stay with us.
I Hate Politics is brought to you by the Political Science Program at UMBC Shady Grove, where you'll learn a strong foundation in public policy, pre-law, and international affairs for an impactful career in a number of essential areas. Learn more at shadygrove.umbc.edu.
What's with you today? What's with today? Gotta tell her I love her by one.
I Hate Politics is a podcast about our neighborhoods, workplaces, schools and streets, and our local governments as they function in diverse and democratic societies. This means our politics are messy, dirty, sometimes corrupt, with often self-serving politicians. But no matter how much we may hate politics, we are never exempt from it, even when we refuse to participate. In fact, the purpose of politics is to keep society functioning, precisely when we don't agree with each other, like now. Music for this episode comes from Dear Daria, a Washington, D.C. power pop indie rock band. Mary Jo Mattea on vocals, guitar, and keys. Joshua Hunter on guitar. Eamon Donnelly on bass. And Dan ABH on drums. You can find their music at deardariaband.com.
Damn the man who saved the empire. Damn the man who saved the empire. Damn the man who saved the empire. Damn the man who saved the
How families connect to schools, how expeditiously they do so, and how effectively they can is a time-honored question in Montgomery County Public Schools. There are some platform changes coming, and there are clarifications to be had. MCPS Chief Technology Officer Kim Fields and Chief Communications Officer Chris Cram join us. That's Chief Technology Officer Kim Fields going first.
I know there's been some questions as it related to our app called Remind, which is a communication platform, which was initially adopted about 2 years ago. And now we have Parent Square. Parent Square, the company actually acquired Remind. So we are actually in the process of transitioning this fall off of Remind onto Parent Square by January of 2026. We'll be on the one platform. There have been other questions as related to Parent View. What is the difference between Parent View and Parent Square? Well, we know Parent Square is our communication platform. Like I said, it's replacing Remind, but we have Parent View. Parent View is our primary application that we're using for our student information, our class schedules, our attendance, our rostering, graduation status, emergency contacts, all of those different things, right? So 2 different platforms, right? Parent Square is our communication, that two-way messaging that schools are using in addition to Remind. And then we also have the Parent View, which is our Synergy, which is our student information system.
Do parents need to download Canvas separately, or is it accessible through Parent View?
Canvas is actually its own separate. That's our learning management system. that our students do use, our teachers use, different courses that'll be uploaded, different activities, artifacts, the learning, and then some teachers will use that for their grades. Those grades will be pushed into our official record keeping system, which would be Synergy.
Part of the confusion there, and quite honestly with Parent View too, is we'll use two names. Parent View is Synergy and Canvas is My MCPS Classroom. Well, that's something we have to fix too.
Canvas is My MCPS Classroom, and Parent View is Synergy.
Correct.
And do those systems speak to each other?
Yes, they are integrated. However, the syncing, that's where the difference comes into play. That is a manual sync. When the teachers are ready to sync the grades and do those different things, the teachers can perform that sync.
So it is the responsibility of teachers to sync those two systems.
Teachers have the responsibility to put their teaching and learning, the grading and reporting into Canvas. The systems are linked automatically, such as the student information system. If you think about that separately from grades and what actually happens into the classroom, teachers have to report those things.
Right. So once they report it in Canvas, My MCPS Classroom, that reporting, grades or whatever, right, is immediately transmitted into Parent View Synergy. Is that correct?
Not immediately.
What is the time lag?
It can depend based upon what is being graded and submitted during different times, right? One of the things we are looking at is a timing for that to try and sync everything up.
Okay, so if I can clarify, is that sync automatic based on a time of the week or date or something, or does a teacher have a responsibility to press some buttons in order to actually make the sync happen?
Right now, there is the manual.
So every teacher must sync it after they have
Here's the
submitted.
thing. Not every teacher, some teachers will solely use Synergy, right? For their grade book. They'll put the grades into Synergy because we see the primary use is being used at the secondary level. Elementary, they may just solely use the Synergy platform. Does that make sense? For adding their grades and doing those different things.
Well, Kim, maybe clarify. You said Synergy in both cases. So a teacher has a choice to use Canvas, My MCPS Classroom for grade reporting purposes, or they can use Synergy,
they
Parent
have
View.
to use Synergy for the grades. Yes.
But if they only use Canvas, My MCPS Classroom, then they need to go in and sync it with Synergy.
I want Kim to check me on something because I'm a little confused and I'd like some clarity. And I think what it is teachers have the responsibility to put the teaching and learning data in there, the grading and reporting and the classes and all of that. But once it's in there, the sync is automatic. It's
Automatically, or do they have to manually sync it?
They have to manually move those grades into.
Chris and Kim, you're saying different things.
When the teachers put the grades into Canvas, right? When they're ready to move the grades over into Synergy, they move the grades over into Synergy to make sure.
It's manual, it's not automatic. And so if parents are not seeing grades in Synergy, that means teachers have not synced it. All right, let's move on. Is Class Dojo still in play right now?
teachers, schools have over the years, before Remind was there, developed comfort, familiarity, and use with other third-party tools. And those are hard to go away as well. And I think that Kim is working towards that, very thing.
For parents, where can they find the full list of all the apps that parents are supposed to know about and follow and log into to know about their students' progress?
We actually have a space on our website where parents can actually view the online tools, the applications that have been approved, that they were not approved. They're right there on the actual website.
See the website.
If you go to the homepage, I believe, and you search technology, support for parents, you'll get the page that she's talking about.
If parents have an issue logging in or figuring out where to go to, the first point of contact is the school, maybe the teacher and then the school. If that fails, where are they going?
We call it Ask MCPS. For English, it's 240-740-3000. For the Spanish hotline, 240-740-2845.
If they need to escalate beyond that, what do they do?
Our IT system specialists will also be able to escalate to our help desk internally to be able to further assist. If we need to take a look at an account, if we need to take a look at or troubleshoot, even reach out, then we would be able to do that.
And that is only an internal system that is not available to families.
We have a whole help desk website where families can actually go and take a look.
What is the website?
If you simply use search on the main MCPS website and you search Parent Help Desk, it comes up right away.
Chris Cram, Kim Fields, good luck in the new school year.
Thank you so much.
Last week, MCPS announced proposals for changes to its programs, by which they mean magnets, career and technical education, and any kind of specialized curriculum. The big bombshell is that the county's marquee academic programs, such as Blair High School's STEM, Richard Montgomery High School's Selective IB, and Poolesville's Science and Math program, as well as Einstein High School's Visual Arts program, will see their recruitment area shrink from all county to one of 6 regions proposed. Rebecca Kushmider is a parent at Einstein looking closely at the proposals.
They're moving forward with this proposal of a regional model. There'll be 6 regions. They kind of, start at the bottom of the county and go sideways across the county. And I don't have them memorized, but, we have one that's BCC, Blair, Whitman, Einstein, and Northwood, and then one that's Blake, Paint Branch, Springbrook, and Sherwood. And there's, I think you'll post the link to the presentation with the slides so people can look this up. And what they want to do is create special programs in each region so that students can apply to them and get to them quickly. So we're not having situations where you're schlepping from Poolesville to Blair.
They are promising transportation?
Yes.
Okay.
They have come up with 5 pathways and 15 strands of special interest programming, and they want to have each of these 15 strands in all of these 6 regions, which consist of 4 to 5 schools apiece. My big takeaways from where we are in the presentation is there are too many strands. They're trying to give every school 2 programs. It looks like they're going to end up putting resources into creating special interest programs that may not have demonstrated interest. Like I was looking at what they've suggested for Einstein, which is my son's school, my daughter's future school. And our special program would be education because we have the Maryland Teacher Academy. That's a very low enrollment program. Why would we throw resources at a program that in a 5-school consortium, we've only got, 20, 30 kids who want to take it, 40 kids.
Is it their expectation that each of these programs would have more than 20, 30 kids per grade?
They keep giving different numbers for what they think enrollment in these special programs would be. On the 24th of July, in the presentation they gave, they said they expect the special programs to have enrollment of 120 to 260 students across 4 grades. Thursday, August 21st, they were expecting each program to have 300 to 320 students across 4 grades.
Oh.
And if you're talking about 2 programs of that size at a school, you're suddenly talking about a quarter of your school is special programming. And they're also kind of talking about a hypothetical program with 320 seats total in a 5-school region. 120 seats will be reserved for the home school. And it's a reaction to the Richard Montgomery problem where, something like 25% of Richard Montgomery's IB seats are reserved for Richard Montgomery students. And then the remaining 75% are for the rest of the county. They want to avoid those criticisms that, if you're in the school, you can't get into the program. but they're doing it in a way that is wildly inequitable. This is a program for a region, but if you're in the home school, you get additional access. And obviously, it's so that they can boost their numbers and reduce transportation challenges.
The big marquee programs, Blair STEM, Poolsville SMACS, the Science Math, Richard Montgomery International Baccalaureate, IB, Einstein's VAC program, Visual Arts program. Now, these are all county-wide programs, and they will stop being county-wide programs in the future.
They will stop being county-wide programs. My understanding, and I'd have to look at the list again to be sure, is that they plan to keep those programs and just change the applicant pool to the regional program. I don't know if they intend to keep them at the same size. I think the Richard Montgomery IB is close to 500 students. And the reason it's such a great program is because of the size, because they have enough bodies to offer all the really great IB courses. Some of the local and regional IB programs don't have that flexibility because there just aren't as many students.
By changing the recruitment pool, they are also going to probably reduce program size and therefore lower the level of off-course offerings.
Maybe. The VAC is only 126 students as a countywide program. So we could potentially stay at exactly the same size and have no changes to anything at the VAC except how far kids have to drive to get there. But, some of the other programs like the global ecology program at Poolsville, are they going to, if that's a regional as opposed to a countywide, is that going to be able to stay at 300 plus students?
Can you speak to the 5 different pathways and the 15 different strands? What are they?
Medical science and healthcare, science, math, technology, and engineering, IB, humanities and languages, leadership, public service and education, visual performing arts, design, and communication. Those are your 5 major headings. And in that, you would get, medical science professions. You would get technology and engineering or high-level STEM, like what you see at Blair or Poolsville. IB, humanities, and language focus. Like I think Whitman has an incredible world languages program. The leadership, public service, and education. There's the law, policy, and justice academies at some schools, and the social justice academy, I think, also at Whitman. And then visual arts, performing arts. Those are pretty self-explanatory.
Have they said anything about where they're going to find teachers to staff these programs?
Some of the programs are based on programs that are already in these schools. Like I'm going back to Einstein because it's what I know. They want to make the VAC, the Visual Arts Center, to be Einstein's regional criteria-based program, which it already is. Right now it's a countywide. They would just be changing the applicant pool to a regional pool. And they want to add a design element to it. So they wouldn't need to hire for that program. We're already fully staffed on the VAC. It would just be a different group of students taking it. And then I presume one of our existing art teachers or someone from our computer science program could teach classes on, say, digital design and graphic design, digital art.
There are 6 regions. Each one of them will have a STEM program and an arts program. So while Einstein may have staffing for an arts program, what about other regions? Do they have staffing for an arts program at the scale that Einstein has? Or how do you staff all these STEM programs?
I assume that what they are planning to do is take the existing art teachers, existing music teachers in these schools and say, you run a magnet now. But I don't know how robust those magnet programs will actually be. Or they can cannibalize other schools and reduce local programming, which is something I'm actually very afraid of at Einstein.
Well, so we also should then expect a considerable amount of movement of teachers in the system. So people that had been in one place may have to be moved to another place involuntarily, or, all of that's going to come as a consequence.
And that is something I've been very worried about. And if I were writing a policy from a parent standpoint on this, I would want MCPS to make promises that they wouldn't recruit teachers from one program into another.
What's the next steps now that the proposals have been made?
They're accepting community feedback, and I will send you the link for the community feedback form. But as a quick reference for anybody listening, if you go to the Montgomery County Public Schools homepage, click on the program analysis icon on the front page and click on the Ask a Question button on the program analysis page. It takes you to a Google form. You can ask them whatever you want. And the other thing, this is really quite a statement I'm about to make here. To the best of my knowledge, principals have not been part of these discussions yet. To the best of my knowledge, this is happening entirely out of the central office, and they have plans to loop principals in starting this fall. And I believe principals have been told that this is coming and that they will have some influence over what happens in their building, but they haven't been part of this so far.
Rebecca Kushmeider, please come back when you know more.
I will come back as often as they give updates. The next update to the board is likely to be in October, so stay tuned for all of that.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
MCPS is getting a charter school. Not the first, but the only, and it is not simple. Several months ago, we did interviews with the founders of the Mecca Business Learning Institute, LaShondra Graham and Tracy Cooper, and asked the question if they would be able to open in time for the new 2025-26 school year. It seemed unlikely then. They were supposed to open in a building on Goldenrod Road in Germantown near Montgomery College, but that building is not ready. So they are opening at a temporary location in an old elementary school on Radnor Road in Bethesda. Most of the students are believed to live in Germantown and now have to be bused all the way down county during peak morning rush hour. As of the weekend, the school did not have a math teacher. But school founder Graham said by email that they will indeed open. 250 students are supposed to start this week. The Maryland Public Service Commission, the state's utilities regulator, has opened a hearing on how the state's gas utilities align with the state's climate goal of zero greenhouse emissions by 2045. Commission Chair Fred Hoover explains the reason and the process.
The initial concern, obviously, is the impact on greenhouse gas emissions. I mean, the Climate Solutions Now Act, which is the state's major initiative to try to address climate change going forward, has fairly aggressive goals as far as reducing greenhouse gas emissions. And one of the things we are trying to figure out is what role does natural gas play in this? Obviously, and there's very divergent opinions on this. We have some opinions on the part of the Office of People's Counsel and the environmental community that natural gas usage in this sense for heating homes and running factories should be phased out because of the impact it's having on greenhouse gas emissions. The existing companies that offer this service, Baltimore Gas and Electric, Washington Gas Light, Columbia Gas, and Chesapeake, obviously think that this is a service they want to continue to provide customers. And we are trying to figure out a path forward to see what policies should be adopted, what changes in the law may be necessary in order to make sure that natural gas plays the appropriate role going forward.
I have heard that gas utilities are overspending on distribution networks, replacing pipes and all of those kinds of things, and thereby capitalizing their assets, which then consumers are expected to pay back. They are locking in a long period of gas usage rather than cutting down. Is that the central problem?
Well, I'd say it's one of the problems, and it's actually the contention that's been raised by the Office of People's Counsel, which was the entity that filed the petition that started this whole process. The investments that the natural gas companies make in their natural gas infrastructure, the pipes that deliver the gas to people's homes and factories, they do that under two ideas. One is maintaining just safe, reliable service. There's a law that's currently on the books that was recently amended that was actually designed to provide an accelerated recovery mechanism for investments in natural gas infrastructure that the utilities made in order to deal with safety concerns and then later on methane leaks, because methane leaks is a big problem when it comes to greenhouse gas emissions. But the flip side of that is any investment they make in pipes is a fairly significant investment, not only in terms of how much money it costs, but also how long those pipes are there. And so part of this process that we're undertaking is to examine what should that investment process be in order to maintain a safe, reliable service, but not run the risk of having an overbuilt system that then would become stranded at some point in the near future.
You said this was a petition filed by the Office of People's Counsel, which is the statutory consumer advocate in Maryland. That petition came in, I believe, February of 2023, so 2.5 years ago. Why does it take that long between the petition and the hearing?
It was filed in February of 2023. I actually didn't get here until July of 2023. And when I got here, sitting on my desk were rate increase requests from the major investor-owned utilities in the state. Those cases have a defined decision time period. So they go to the head of the line no matter what. And so we had to kind of work our way through those proceedings. We had other proceedings that were sort of stacked up too. And, this investigation, since it wasn't on a statutory time frame, got pushed to the back of the line, so to speak. We also wanted to, I considered it to be a fairly significant and important investigation. And so I wanted to make sure that we set it up just correctly. And that's one of the reasons why we issued this order to create the special master to do the investigation. Generally with these policy type hearings, we do one of two things. We either hold legislative type hearings where parties come forward and talk about their positions on the various issues, or we delegate something like this to one of our work groups, again, where the stakeholders participate and they try to come up with consensus. It was my view that this issue was a little different, and one, it needed a longer term examination as opposed to just a one-time legislative hearing. And there probably wasn't a lot of room for consensus on this. So I wanted to establish a process where the parties would put their positions forward and an individual would be fact-finding, but also making policy recommendations for the commission going forward. And so that's what this special master is going to do in this proceeding.
What should we expect now?
We actually put on the table 13 different questions and 13 issues, I guess you could call them, for the special master to investigate. But that doesn't preclude other issues being brought forward by the party. So I expect this, proceeding will take a certain amount of time. We're probably talking months, not years, but we're definitely talking months, not weeks.
You made a distinction between the primary use of natural gas by consumers, which is cooking gas or in their heaters, and the secondary use of natural gas, which is gas is used to generate electricity, which then consumers are using. Now, there is talk that utilities in the state are asking for the right to build new gas-powered generation to make electricity because there is a demand-supply gap at this time. Does this hearing include the secondary use of gas as well, or is it just the primary use?
No, it's mainly focused on the primary use of natural gas as a source of heating. And the issue about using natural gas as a way to make electricity is actually going to be part of the RFP process that we're going to be establishing going forward as a result of the legislation was passed last session to try to incentivize the development of new sources of generation within the state of Maryland. That's where we'll be looking to potential projects being pitched to us, both by the investor-owned utilities, Baltimore Gas, Electric, Pepco, and the rest of them, as well as the existing merchant power plant providers.
On the one hand, you're trying to align natural gas use to the climate goals that the state has. On the other hand, for the secondary gas use, which is in power plants, there is a possibility that you may allow more?
We will have to examine the proposals that come forward. I mean, the General Assembly made a request of us to do an RFP to try to incentivize energy generation within the state of Maryland. That includes potentially natural gas plants. It also includes potentially small modular nuclear plants, but it also includes such things as new renewables and battery storage projects.
Fred Hoover, thank you.
Thank you.
Stella's a strange and special girl, oblivious in her own world, a ray of sunshine each new day. She likes to hang around the house, sleep through the whole day on the couch, doesn't do much and that's okay.
That's all for this episode. Be sure to check out our feature interview series that come out Friday mornings. I Hate Politics is produced by me, Sunil Dasgupta, with support from the University of Maryland, Baltimore County. I direct UMBC's political science program at the universities at Shady Grove in Montgomery County, where, among other things, we explore and learn about politics, government, and society close to home. Music for this episode comes from Dear Daria, a Washington, D.C. power pop indie rock band. Mary Jo Matea on vocals, guitar, and keys. Joshua Hunter on guitar. Eamon Donnelly on bass. And Dan ABH on drums. You can find their music at deardariaband.com. If you want to share your music on the show or know someone else who might want to, please email us at producer@ihppod.org. I hope you'll subscribe and share the podcast as we bring you stories about politics close to you and to your home. See you next time.